Welcome back to the next section in the GoodX Web Fundamental Training. We are going to handle now the appointments and the appointment administration, the diary administration, and we are going to show you how to book patients and how to manage your diary at this stage. Now, please just make sure that you click on, if you hover over your YouTube video, that you click on the settings icon and then change your quality to 720 and make sure that the red dot on the left hand side is also on, that you know that you are live with us and not adding a delay. And then if you go a little bit down, please tell us that you are watching and that you are listening. Please comment and ask questions as we go along. So if there is something interesting, please don't feel scared to tell us, oh, okay, that's cool, or that's nice, or okay, yes, I understand. We like the communication back from you guys while we are busy with the training, because then we know that you're still with us and we didn't lose you somewhere along the line. Okay. Now, to start with the diary administration, please, if you want to see the overview of the diary again, you can always go back to the introduction video and it will show you the overview of the diary and how to log into GoodX Web. Now, on this screen, if we go back, we're going to start with, we have three different, not really types of bookings, but we have three different ways of booking. You have your new patient. So when you book a new patient, you're not creating a file for that patient. You're only reserving that time slot for that patient and telling all of the personnel in the practice that there is a patient coming in that time slot, that you don't overbook your practice. Now, the new patient, you will only create his electronic file when he arrives at your practice. Then you have your existing patients. Now that the patient already have electronic file with you, you just search for the patient and you book the patient. Everything is already on your system. And then you have your emergencies. Your emergencies, if you book an emergency, so say for instance there is a mother running in the practice with a child that got cut and it's bleeding a lot, then you know, okay, this is an emergency. It was not a booking and it's not a new booking or an existing booking. It's already, so the patient will be marked on your diary already as arrived when you do an emergency booking. Then you also have other appointments. Now, the other appointments is private appointments, or say for instance the doctor is not available because he's at a conference call or he's busy with training, then you can always book out the doctor or the medical practitioner, that you can tell the system, okay, this doctor is not available between this date and time, and also for lunch options, or the doctor is going to gym or he only starts at 9 o'clock, depending on what do you want to use. We're going to show you examples of all of this. Please just remember, don't try to write all of this down, because we have the videos, we have the learning center. You can always go and check there, okay, to go back and see how are we doing it. Try to follow and see why are we doing and how are we doing this. And then if you're struggling afterwards, you can always go back to the user manuals and the videos. Or otherwise, if you struggle still after you've watched the videos or after you read through the learning center, you can always phone your SCL and they will log in with TeamViewer and assist you in that way. Okay. Now first, we're going to book a new patient. So this patient doesn't have an appointment or an electronic file with you guys in the practice. So if you click on the correct time slot, so here on the left hand side you can see the different times. So if you click on that time slot, you can double click, it will open a booking reservation slot for you. Then you first have your diary, your different diaries, so make sure that you're on a correct diary, and then you have your different types. Now the type is, say for instance, you have follow-ups or you have certain procedures that you're doing, you can always set that up as types. Now this is our normal one, the default one that we set up for you guys, but you can always change this, but we will still come to that, to how to create your own ones. Now in these examples we have a consultation, we have follow-up, we have assessments, we have emergencies, out of office, cancelled, and then a new type. Now, if the patient, we're going to show you also how to change the statuses. Let's make a normal consultation. Then you have your statuses. Now, on your statuses, you also, again, you can create your own ones. We are giving the defaults is booked, arrived, ready, treated, invoiced, and then done. Now, what is nice, this is the flow of the patient inside your practice. So the patient is booked, then when you arrive at your practice, you click on arrive, and then when the patient is ready for the doctor, so between arrive and ready is when you make his file and he pays a co-payment if you have to pay a co-payment, or anything that you need to do, the reception before the doctor can see this patient. So then you, the patient has arrived in the practice, and when he's ready, you put it on ready. So the doctor can always change his diary view to only to see the statuses that says ready, because he knows that patient is ready, that the doctor can see that patient. So say for instance, the doctor is inside the consultation room, and your workflow is not that you take the files to the doctor, you give the file to the patient while they are sitting in the waiting room, and the doctor can just call when the next patient comes in. Now that it's looking really professional, because the doctor already knows who's the next patient, because the reception marked the patient as ready. So when the patient ready, the doctor see on the system, oh, okay, this is my next patient. You can just open the door and says, okay, please, Mr. Poggenpoel, can you please come in with your file? Or otherwise, if the reception takes the files to the doctor, or the doctor come and collect the files, the same process, but it's a nice function that the doctor knows this patient is already ready for them. Then you have your treated invoice. Now this can also be set up with certain functions that you're using in GoodX Web. You will definitely, this status will move automatically onto the next status. So this is a guideline for you on where are your patient in your practice and what must happen with this patient next. Okay, so we're going to say booked. If you have different lab consultation, and you will link it to 30 minutes in the settings, and then automatically every time when you make a first consultation booking, the system will know he must make 2 time slots depending on your setup of your duration of your appointment. Now, if for instance, this one is linked to 15 minutes time slot, you can still change it. If you know this patient is going to be 20 minutes, let me just highlight, and then 20 minutes inside the doctor's practice in the consultation room, because it's a new patient, then you know it's 20 minutes. Already you can make that duration a little bit longer, or otherwise a little bit shorter. If the patient only comes back for a script, that the script must be done for him, then you can also say only 5 minutes. So depending on how long do you think the patient is going to be in the doctor, you can always extend this while the patient is inside the consultation room. Then you have your treating doctor. So if you have more than one treating doctor, you can choose the correct one. If you have only one diary, then you have a reason for appointment. Now the reason for appointment is only an indicator, and it's a free text field, so you can indicate for the medical practitioner, why is the patient here. Now there you can type in the patient thinks he has flu, or he has pain, or otherwise you can type in there the patient is told you that it's a personal case. Now sometimes when a patient phones in, they don't want to tell the reception what is wrong with them or why do they want to see the doctor, and then they will just say, no, it's a personal case, I'm not going to discuss that, and then you type in personal. So this is just an indication. The medical practitioner can directly see what is the reason for the appointment, and now if the patient comes into the consultation room, where to start. Then there you have your service center. The service center is really important. It's linked to a certain type. So if you look at the medical aids, also the service center goes through to the medical aids. When you switch when you switch the claim, So if it's in the rooms, then there is certain procedures that you're allowed to do in the rooms, certain tariffs that you're allowed to ask in the rooms, and also ICD-10 codes and all of that stuff. And then you have certain procedures or certain tariff codes that you're allowed to do in a hospital. So it's important that you link this patient to the correct service center, that you know what type of procedures you're allowed to do. Now, the system doesn't tell you, but this also goes through to the medical aid, and then if it comes to the medical aid and you chose a hospital, but this procedure are only allowed in the rooms, the medical aid is going to decline the claim. Okay, so we're going to say rooms, and then here is the list that you're going to search for a patient. We're not going to do that because it's a new patient. He doesn't have an electronic file with us so far. Now, on the a little bit down, you have your debtor details. You have normal, private, and IOD. So the normal one is all our medical aid patients, and then you have your private patients. So the private is the patients that doesn't have medical aid and pays cash, and then you have your IOD patients, so injury on duty. If you're working with injury on duty, it's important that you choose the injury on duty if it's an injury on duty, because there is certain fields that comes also on this file. Okay, so we're going to do a normal patient that has a medical aid. You type in here the patient's name, the surname, and then a telephone number. So it's important that you type in this first three, because if you speak with the client on the phone, the patient on the phone, it's not necessary, when it's a new patient, it's not necessary that they are going to come to your practice, because they phone around and ask who has the first open appointment for them, or otherwise who's going to ask the less consultation fee. So the more information, the better, always, because then you have something to fall back on. But on a new patient, you only need to create a time slot. You only need a name, the surname, and the cell phone number that you can send reminder SMSs to this patient. Now, it is important that you understand the difference between debtor and patient. The debtor is your main member, or the person who is responsible for the account. And then you have your patient, and that is the patient that the doctor is going to see, or the dependents. Now, you can always create, we're going to come to that part, but you can create a lot of different patients or dependents under one main member. Okay, so we're going to say test, Snyman 071 is the telephone number. The main member is the patient, so we're going to say duplicate data, and we're going to say save. Now we've just made a booking for a new patient. If we click on this booking, you will see here all of the other stuff is grayed out. Yes, we can, just to come back to one of the questions. The question is, what if it's in the emergency department in the hospital? Do you put in as casualty or hospital? We can create a lot of different types of service centers. So if you want to see it as casualty, then we create the casualty for you. So please just let us know to your FCL that you need another service center, and then they can create a casualty for you. But that is really nice. With the service centers, it shows on all the reports, so you can draw reports to see how many patients that you see in the rooms, how many patients that you see in casualty, how many patients was admitted in hospital. So it's nice, so you can have a lot of different types of service centers, and depending on how do you want to work. So yes, we can create a casualty for you. Okay. Now we have to come back. If you see on this booking, there's a lot of different types of different buttons that is grayed out, because this is not this patient doesn't have electronic file with you yet, so it's not a debtor yet. So you will see only available is a Debtor Add. Okay, we're going to come to that now. If I make a booking for an existing patient, so now a patient phones in, they already have electronic file with you, and they want to make a booking at 12 o'clock. So we're going to click on 12, double click, I'm going to say, okay, yes, this is a follow-up. I'm going to say booked, and it is 12. I'm going to say it's a follow-up. And then we're going to tell the system, we're going to search for the patient. Now what is nice, you can or search according to the debtor, or you can search according to the patient information. Now if you click on the debtor and you type in a certain patient's name, and that is not a main member, it will also show that on the list. Now let's take an example, Ian Bester. Let's take Bianca Graham. Okay, and then it will show you Bianca is the main member and she's the patient, so we only have one, and then we say save. To make a booking is really quick and easy. So there is an existing booking. So if we click on this one, you will see all of the buttons is ready that you can click on it, and then you can go to the clinical history, you can do an invoice, and all of this you can do on the patient. But if you have on this one, you still need to add the patient's file before you can do any functions. Okay, so now must I show you another example of how to book a patient, or are you fine with this? Okay, we're going to go on to an emergency booking. If you want to make an emergency booking, I click on, say, just stand on 12:30. I'm going to click on the drop down box and I'm going to say emergency. You will see the status already is arrived, and then you say, okay, it's emergency. And then if you have to change the time, you can change the time. So let's make it at 10:15 because I didn't stand on the correct time slot. 10:15 emergency. You will see the reason is already also filled in for you. You choose the patient and then you say save. Already the patient is arrived and it is marked as an emergency. Okay, if this patient, if it's an emergency and the patient was never there before and your practice is a new patient, you can always click on the time slot. You can say create an emergency for me. I choose, okay, this is a not a consultation, it's an emergency, and the patient is unconscious. Then you can always say John Doe, because you don't know his information. You can type in then a cell phone number. If you don't know the cell phone number, just make one up, 9999, and then you say save. You can always come back to this one and then change the information when the patient is conscious, and you can get all of that information. If you made a mistake, you can always drag the appointment to another time slot. The booking will open and you can just say save. So if the patient phones in and you want to move a booking, you can always just click on the booking and drag the booking to the other time slot and then say save. Okay, if you want to, okay, we will still come to that. So now you have booked your emergency. Don Joe, the patient is not conscious, the patient is unconscious. Now the patient comes conscious, and now you can get all of his information. So all you have to do is you click on the patient and you say Debtor Add, and you create all of the information. So now let's take this one that we have started with. So it's a new patient, and now the patient has arrived. So you click on the booking and you click on your status to go to arrive. Now, because the patient is standing in front of you, you click on Debtor Add. You're going to create the patient's file now. Now, what a really cool function is the import data. If you click on import, you will see here you have a Migrant Central and you also have a medical aid. Now the Migrant Central, as we've explained to you in the introduction video, is the Migrant Central app where the patient can create his own file, and also with the kiosk they can create their own electronic file, and then if you click Migrant Central member, you can import it from there. Okay. Then you have your medical aid. So if I click on medical aid, you choose the correct medical aid. So for instance, discovery, and then the medical aid option You can choose the one that you think is the most correct one. The system will tell you if the medical aid option is incorrect. So we say for instance we choose comprehensive classic acute, then you type in the medical aid number and then you say import. I'm going to show you this on the user manuals also, because we don't have live data and I can't show you really, but if you click on import, it's going to give you back an error if the information, the member aid number is not correct, or otherwise it will then give you first a screen. Let me just show you. Learning Center, medical aid and dental. Let me just search for it. If I go to patient validation, dependent data, new data import and benefit check. So if you import the patient, you need the medical aid option and then the medical aid number. And then when you import it, I just want to go a little bit down. The screen will pop up, it will show you the information and then you can say update or otherwise import. Okay. Please test that on your live system. It's going to show you a little bit more information and it's going to show a lot nice information that you can choose from. It will also open some screens that you can choose. Is this the main member? Is this the patient? And then you can import it from there. Okay. Now I just want to go back to GoodX Web so you can import it, or otherwise you import it from Migrant Central. If you're not using the medical aid or is a private patient or anything like that, you can always type in the information. And just remember that not all of the information is always available at all of the medical aids. It's only certain medical aids that gives us back that information, and it's not always giving us all of the information that we need. So after you have imported it, you must still go and complete the fields that the medical aid didn't give us. Okay, so then you have your treating doctor, you have your rooms or your hospital or your casualty, then you have your surname, type in the ID number. Now the ID number also have a check. So if we check the ID number, it tried to take the gender out of the ID number. If it's available, then the gender will automatically be filled in. And it will tell you if it's a valid South African ID or not. Now the important part here, if you click on ID type, you say RSI ID, then it will do the validation. Otherwise you click on passport if it's a passport number, or otherwise other if it's a child or anything like that that you don't have the ID number for. So let's take that one. Immediately I type my ID number in, immediately it gives me I'm a female. So it's a really nice function. So it tries to help you, to guide you. So let's just make a okay. And then this ID number I've just made up, but it tells me it is a male. Okay, so then we have our title of the patient. Oh, not the patient, the main member. We are busy with the debtor's details, and this is the main member's details. So you have your title, Mr. And then the initials will pull through from the first name. Okay, so if this patient has another name, say for instance, Veneria, it will update. If you typed in, I just want to correct this, it will automatically update the initials for you. Okay, then you have your home telephone number, you have your email address, your work telephone number, then you have your language. This language is if the patient is Afrikaans or English, and then the system knows must he send the patient Afrikaans SMSs and emails, or must the emails be in English if the patient is an English patient. So let's leave it on English. Then you again have your data type, if it's a normal or a private patient. If you click on private, you will see the medical aid option is away. It defaults you to the private patient acute, and the medical aid number 00. So let's take a normal one. Now we're going to choose discovery, for instance. You have your medical aid options. And when you always choose your medical aid, because the medical aid options will only be available for this medical aid. Okay, if we go to comprehensive or core classic acute, then you type in your medical aid number, because this is the main member. Normally discovery is 00. Then you have your employer. It's always important that you type in more information, because the employer can always be used to, when the patient is not paying, the employer can always be used to follow up with outstanding accounts. Okay, then you have your next of kin. Please type in the next of kin, because say for instance the patient is in your consultation room for some unimportant issue, then in that stage the patient is unconscious, and then you don't know who to phone or where to get help from, or any history of this patient. Okay. Then you have your physical address, and the physical address, this addresses is linked to Google Maps. So if we type in here 31 Snyman Road, Primera, immediately our office's address comes up. So if I click on it, it will fill in all of the other information, the latitude and the longitude. So all of the addresses is linked to Google Maps. And then you have the postal address. If it's the same as the physical address, then you can just click on duplicate physical address, and all of the information will come through to your postal address. Okay. Then you have your data file number. So say for instance, before GoodX you already have a hard copy file system. You can always link that hard copy file back to your data file number. Okay. So the patient normally, if you start with a new filing system, then it's fine. You can always use the GoodX numbers, the account number, or otherwise you can fill in here and you can always search on the data file number. Okay. Then you have your referring doctors. It's important if in certain specialities you need a referring doctor. For instance, pathologists or specialists, the claims are not allowed to go through without a referring doctor. You can't go to a specialist if you weren't referred by a GP in certain cases. So it's important that the medical aid also receives the referring doctor, and some claims will be rejected if the referring doctor is not filled in. So you can click on the plus. Here is the list of all the referring doctors that already was created. You can click on one of them, or otherwise always add a new referring doctor if that referring doctor is a new one on that one. Okay. Then let's choose one. Dr. Kim Gauteng. Then you have your first names. Okay, that we have discussed. Medical aid options, and then you the employer. Now this is now our main member. Now we go to the patient side. So depending on how do you want to work with your practice, when you import the data from the medical aid, you can always choose if you want to import. Say for instance, this main member has 5 dependents, 3 children and his wife and his mother underneath his medical aid. You can always decide you want to import all of them, or you can decide only to import that certain patient that is there at that moment. Now, depending on your speciality, if you're, say for instance, a female doctor, you're not going to import any male information into your system. So then you will only choose the females if you import. And then, say for instance, you're only working with children, you're not going to import the mother, for instance, if she's not the main member, because she's never going to be a patient at your practice. But if you're a GP, then the best is always to import everything, because then when that family comes back with the other child, so for instance, the one child has flu this week and you're treating that patient, that child today, tomorrow the sister or the brother is definitely going to be also getting that flu, and then they will come to your practice. They don't want to stand there and create all of the information again, because it's double work. So import everything, you have everything on your system, and if that children or that family comes back, you already have all of the dependents on the file. You can just confirm the details and then go on with the treatment. Now if you do it with the hand and you're not importing, this is your first patient. If it's the main member, then you say duplicate debtor, and it will pull through all of the information. If the address is a different address that the main member is using with the patient, you can always fill in the new address or click on duplicate address from the debtor. Now, the patient file number, if you have a hard copy file for this patient separate, you can put in the patient's file number, and also if the patient has a separate email address, you can put in the email address. Now there is the date of birth. The date of birth is calculated from the ID number. If you don't have an ID number because the patient is still too small, it's a newborn, then sometimes they don't have an ID number yet, you can always just put in the date of birth, and then all the date of birth will calculate from there. Okay. So now I want to add a new patient because this patient was here. Then if I click on add new, it will still keep the surname, but if the patient's surname is not the same as the main member, you can always overwrite it. Okay. So let's make a new one. And then the type of ID, let's make this one a passport number, and then it won't check on how many digits it is. And then the gender, we say no, it's a girly. The title, then it has the initials, the cell phone number if the patient has a cell phone number, and then what is this? What type of dependent is this? Is it the spouse? Is it a child, stepchild? So let's say it's a child. And then the date of birth, we're going to fill in because it can't create it from the passport number. So let's say the patient was born the 7th of November. There is an email address if you want to, and you put in the address, the physical address where the patient is staying. And then you also have the default diary to link to. Now if you only have one diary, then we can already link the patients to that diary for you. So, but if you have more than one diary, you can always just create or click on the diary and then make a booking as we are doing now. You don't have to say default diary to link. It will always, if there is no default set up, then it will always take the diary that you're standing on. Okay, and then if that is fine, you can save. Or otherwise add new patient and put another one on. Okay. Is there any questions that you have on creating the patient's file? Okay. So we're going to go on. Okay, so now if we're going to go to the next stage, I'm going to say save. So here immediately you will see now we can say Debtor Add, we can do receipts, invoices, everything because we have created this patient file and it turned to arrived. Okay, so say for instance Bianca is coming into the practice right now. We're just going to click on her because she's already have electronic file. We're just going to say arrive. Okay. Is there any other questions about the bookings? Now let's make a lunch booking, for instance. So if I click on 1350 and I say okay, the time is an out of office, and then I can say here sorry, lunch, and the doctor is going, because the out of office is already linked to 120 minutes, then I can say save. It will book out 120 minutes for us to show that this doctor is out of the office. Now what is nice, if you click on it, you will see it's not billable because it's not linked to a patient, and we have set it up. We will show you still how to create your own status and your booking types, but then you can link it that it is not billable. Okay. Now also to move an appointment, as I showed you a little bit earlier, you can click on it and you can just drag it to the correct time slot. This what says opening multiple booking screens with the same model is not supported. Okay, yes, we know that. Save. Okay. So now it already moved that patient. Now, if you want to say, for instance, the patient must come for a follow-up, you can always just click on the patient's booking. You can say Control C on your keyboard. You can go to the correct date that you want to do it, and you can click on the correct time slot, and you can say Control V. This will open. Just change this to booked, and we say save, and the patient will have another booking. Okay. If you want to go back to today, you can just click on now, and it will take you back to today. So if that patient comes out of the consultation room and say, so I have to see the doctor in 2 days, can you please make a new booking for me? You just click on today's booking, Control C, and then go to the correct day, and then say Control V to paste it. Okay. If you want to delete a booking, you just double click on the booking and you say delete. Are you sure you want to delete this booking? Yes. So you have made a mistake, now is the booking gone. Say for instance, the patient is phoning in and the patient is telling you, sorry, I want to cancel my booking. Now, why we have two different types is the delete one is you've made a mistake and you just want to delete the booking, or otherwise you have your cancelled one that you want to cancel the booking, because in the future you want to see all the patients that's always cancelling. Okay, depending on what type of speciality you are, it's important that you can see how many patients is cancelling on their follow-up appointments or all of that. Or you can decide on not making appointments anymore for this patient because they're always cancelling on you. So if you click on the patient, double click, and you change the type to cancelled, and you say save. Because we have put this on as the status, then you can immediately see it has been cancelled. Okay, cancelled. That one is better. The status is cancelled because the patient, sorry, let me just make that one correct. It's still a consultation, so the type is still the correct one, and then you have your status because the status is cancelled. So the patient is not going to be there, or otherwise if the patient didn't arrive, you can also change that to cancelled. Okay, and it will show you then the appointment was cancelled. Now if we want to click on the display options and say show all bookings, you will see the one that we have deleted is there with a red line through it. Okay, so it's not gone, and if you don't want to see the ones that you have deleted, you can always just click on the display options and say show active bookings only. The same with the done ones. So if I click on this one and let's change it back and say yes, it's a consultation and the patient was ready, save, the doctor has seen this patient, the billing was done, everything was done. You can just click on the status, it takes you to treated, invoiced, and then if you click on done, it will also take it off the diary. It's not off the diary, it's just helping you to show you, okay, this is all of the bookings that was done, and still there must be certain actions done on these bookings at the end of the day. Then you can still say show all bookings, and it will also show the done bookings for you. We will come to that settings, but you can decide on which statuses it must show on your diary and which ones not. Okay. Then we have the time slot history. If you hover over your time slot, you will see there comes a little round mark. If you click on it, it will show you the that time slot history. So it shows us on this date and time we have inserted, we have updated it, and we have what the information that we have changed on this booking. Okay, to go back to your screen, you say close. So say for instance you accidentally deleted a booking and you didn't click on show active bookings, you can always go and see, okay, on the history of that time slot, which booking was there, okay, if the booking has disappeared. Or say for instance, you have moved the booking to another time slot accidentally, and you can't remember the one that you have moved, then always go and click on the time slot, click on the view history, and then the history will show that you have moved that booking, okay. You can also make repeated bookings. So say for instance, if we go to Ian and we double click, here is repeat booking. So if the patient has a chronic condition, for instance, or there's a treatment that you're busy with on this patient, you can always say, okay, this patient must come back once a week or twice a week or daily or weekly or monthly, depending on how do you want to see the patient. He must come back every Wednesday until the 9th of May, and then you save. It will take this time, exactly the time that you are using, and if I say save, okay, sorry, this is only a testing system, so there is some problems on it. We will work around that, but if anything like this ever happens in your practice, please let us know immediately. So then we can say repeat booking, you can say save, and you will book on every Wednesday until the 9th of May. It will book that for you, okay. Let me just go out. Then also you have a booking history. So if you click on the booking, you can see here the history, and you can see what happened with this booking. You have you have created it, you have updated it with information, and then you have moved it, and also the status is the follow-up. So everything shows here that was done on this booking. Okay, so the one that you have is your time slot history, and then you have your booking history. Okay, I just want to see if we've missed something. Okay, the only one that we still need to do in this section is the theatre bookings. Now, a nice thing that GoodX have is the theatre bookings. You can create, say for instance, the doctor, let's say tomorrow, the doctor is always in theatre on a Friday. So then you click on hospital, you say theatre management. First, you're going to create your theatre list. Okay, so first you're going to create a theatre section that is on the diary. So you're going to tell the system from how late till how late the doctor is always going to be in the theatre. Now I just want to see if I can show you how, because this one on the test one is not working today. Add theatre, expect error, to prevent errors. Okay. Just give me a few seconds. I just want to see if I can take the other one. I'm just going to log in our other one, and I just can show you how this looks like, or how this works. Sorry for this inconvenience. So if I go to tomorrow and we say hospital and we say theatre management, then we can say add a theatre list. So now we're going to tell the diary the doctor is always going to be in a theatre between these dates. Okay, so we're going to say, okay, this is a doctor test hospital. The date is today from 8 until, let's make it 12. And the hospital that the doctor is going to be in. Sorry, I've been locked out. Let me just try again. Hospital, theatre management. Then I say add theatre list. I choose the correct diary I want to do it on. Then I have my date, I have my time, I want to do it until 12. I have my hospital. So say for instance, it's a Netcare Unitas hospital, for instance, the doctor is going to operate. Here you can add the surgeon if you want to. You can search from a list, or otherwise just type it in. Then you can put in the anesthetist. Also you can create it, or otherwise type it in. And then you can put in your referring doctor, and also you can put in the assistant. that is going to assist in this certain procedure that you're going to use. So let me take that one, save, and we put a needed test in, save, and we put in a referring doctor, and we put in an assistant. You will see all of this, and then you say complete. Okay. Let's go back, theatre management. Sorry. 12 o'clock. Okay. So now we have this theatre list. So I have the theatre list now. So we've created the theatre list. If we go back to the diary and we refresh on the 12th, and you see, okay, this will turn blue if it's working correctly. This test systems is a little bit out of date. So here it will turn blue or turquoise color. That shows you that the theatre is booked out. So if you add a patient, you can go to hospital, theatre management, you click on that correct one, and then you add your patient. Okay. So if you book anyone on that diary here, and you book the patient, you can say it's in a theatre, and then it will create your theatre list for you. So if you go back to hospital, theatre management, and you click on that one, it will show here on the right hand side all of the patients that was created, and the patients that is booked for your theatre with the CTP4 codes and the procedures that you're going to have to do. And this can be printed or be emailed to the hospital that they know this is all your theatre bookings for the next day or the next week. Okay. Do you have any other questions on the bookings, on the and on the diary, and how to book a patient? So just to add the data, if you've made a booking, you click on Debtor Add, and then you create your patient and your data. And then if you want to add a new one, say for instance, Ian is booked, consultation booked, and then we say Ian, but Ian says yes, I was there, but my child is not yet. So then you can always say create a new one for the child. Okay, so you add a dependent. So you say save, choose Ian, and then if you click here, Debtor Edit, and then you say add new patient, and you use the correct patient. Okay. Also on the booking, you have your, if you click on Debtor Edit, you have your print data cover sheet. Now with the data cover sheet, you can, if you print this one, I'm just going to show you an example. You can put here terms and conditions of your practice, and then the patient can sign and make sure all of the information is still correct on the system that you're having. You can also print patient labels from here. Close to go back to the home screen. Okay. This little circles is a nice indication that shows you, okay, this, if it's gray, there is no clinical notes added, and if you hover over it because you don't know what it stands for, it will show you exactly what the icon means. So the C is for clinical case, then the D is documents, we will come to that still, documents, upload documents, then you have your switch, was this switch or not, then you have your invoice, is this patient invoiced or not, is there outstanding account. So if we go to Ian's account, you'll see it's red because the patient is owing us money. Okay, and then you have the validate. Could this patient's file be validated? Benefits could not be validated, for instance. So depending on your booking, you can click there and you can see a lot of information that is important to you. Now, because this is a test system, we can't validate, otherwise you have the benefits could not be validated. You will see there, yes, the patient is active and it was validated. If you want to validate it because you didn't automatically evaluate, you double click, you click on Debtor Edit, and you click here, validate benefit check selected patient. And then it will come back with a message that says yes, this patient is active and all of the information is correct, or no, the dependent number is incorrect, or the surname is spelled incorrect, or anything like that. Okay, so it's important if the patient steps into your practice, even if it's an existing patient, always validate when they steps into your practice if they were there, say for instance 6 months ago. Okay, then we say close. The last thing I want to show you before we go to the next section, if you want to upload any documents, there are two different types of documents. We have clinical documents, and then we have the debtor or the patient documents. Now, in this case, if we go to Ian, for instance, and we say add documents, you can choose which type of documents, and you can set up your system to alert the reception to always you want an ID and you want a medical aid card. So it will stay red until we have uploaded this document. So if we say add new, you choose a file from your computer, okay, then you add it, or otherwise you take a photo, and then you say is it the patient or the main member's info document that you're uploading it. Is it a financial document, is it personal, or is it the ID required that you have put on, or a medical aid, depending on what is all required in your practice. And then you can type in the description, you save, and the document will upload. It will be here under save documents, and you can always download it or otherwise print it. Now what is really nice of the MyBrand Central, that when with the kiosk, when the patient creates their file, the system will automatically tell them, step 1, please fill in this information. If they say next, it will take the next one and say, please put your medical aid card at the back of the kiosk. There's a nice placeholder. You put your card there and it takes a photo automatically. The same, then you will say next, and then it will prompt you to put on your ID, for instance. So it takes you through all the steps, and all of that photos that it was taken will automatically be saved on this patient file for you. Okay, so here you can upload all the information, and then you can always delete or otherwise download it if you want to. Okay, is there any other questions that you want to know about the diary administration part, or otherwise with the certain bookings? The next section we're going to start you see at 11 o'clock, and then we're going to do the clinical information. If you don't have any questions in this section further, we're going to end this section now, and then at 11 we will start with the clinical administration part.